And here we go with another episode of Networking with Nick back down here at the Colony here in Wichita, Kansas. And this is going to be an awesome show as I have a returning guest who's broken one record already, being the first of a double podcast, along with now back for a second time.
Absolutely.
Brant Dumford, how are you, buddy?
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much.
Awesome. And a new guest.
New,
very new, and I'm so excited today to speak with Jean Garinger.
That's right.
Yes, I got it.
Nick,
Yeah, buddy.
Achiever.
I was
Oh my
practicing
goodness.
that one.
You did really well.
Awesome. I'm so happy to have you in today. How's the week treating you so far? We're getting out about halfway through. We're almost.
It's Tuesday, Nick. That's not halfway.
Well, out of 7 days, I start on Sunday. So
You're so cute. No. Well, okay, that's fair. Yeah, you're supposed to rest on Sunday, though.
I don't.
It's really important.
I can rest when I'm dead.
Okay. I think it is important to rest, though.
It is. No,
Trust me, as a person who has been a worker, like hustling, rest is important. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the week has been a little crazy. My family's out of town, and so I'm realizing how much they do support me when they're in town. I'm like, I'm going to have to do that myself. So
Yeah, all right. So are you a local here? Are you a Wichita native?
excuse me. No, I'm originally from Iowa. So
Iowa.
I was born and raised in Iowa, Council Bluffs, right across from Omaha, and then went to college in Olathe, Kansas.
Okay.
Where I met and married my husband.
Ooh.
We lived in Topeka for like 15 years, and then almost 13 years ago, we moved down to Derby.
Okay.
So I'm an American Family agent. I was an agent up in Topeka and then took over a bigger agency in Derby. 13 years ago.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So when you guys met, obviously you graduate college and then you start your business. So you guys have been married and together ever since, through you starting your own business.
Right. So I actually started the business because of my husband. His dad was an American Family insurance agent.
Okay.
And so I started working for him before I even married Seth. So my longest relationship is American Family Insurance.
Really?
Yeah. I always tell Seth, you're not the longest. American Family Insurance. And
That's funny.
I know, September 1st.
I love that.
Will be, I love to bust people's chops. So
Right,
let me
that's a
get
fact.
anything on you. Right, Brant?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so.
Brant's over here like, yeah, I know. I've felt the wrath a few times.
I really don't have to get tough very often, but I can if I have to. But anyway, my September 1st will be 28 years with American Family.
Wow.
And I love it. It's a great company. I have a degree in psychology, which has nothing to do with insurance. But insurance has been an amazing vehicle for my family. It's a really great career. If you care about people and just try to do the very best thing for them and not think about yourself, you're going to do great.
Interesting, because I honestly, it's not in the health industry, but the auto side,
Yeah.
I have some beef with a couple of companies throughout the years.
I've got some beef too. Okay,
You know?
just number one, I've got beef with Apple phones. Like I have beef too. Okay, so if you want to get distracted, we can go down beef roads, but I'm gonna pause you. We can talk offline about auto insurance and all that, but because the insurance industry, it is misunderstood. Like we do take the money in and collect it for the very worst day of your life.
Yeah.
If you don't have any problems, you're ticked, right? Because you've been paying premium all those years. Yep. But the day you have a problem, I promise you, you are going to be like, I love you, Jean.
It's not.
Right?
I'm happy now.
Yeah, you're liking me now, aren't you? Right? And so I know I'm so loud, sorry, but
No, send
that's
it.
wonderful.
I can.
But anyway, yeah, I feel like I can quiet her. My husband's been trying to for decades, but it's not going to happen.
I'm assuming that's not worked out.
It's not been too good for him. He's adjusted, right?
Yes, he has.
Yeah,
adjusted.
he has adjusted.
You have to, or just
Yeah.
get out of the way, I guess.
That's exactly right. So insurance is great, and I've done it forever. I definitely think like I said, it's a great vehicle for my family. Okay. Good, stable job, right? If again, as long as you do what you're supposed to be doing, you're gonna have a good, stable job. And I've been able to help other families along the way. So I have 6 team members. And
Wow.
So I know. So when the world gets a little crazy, I get nervous because I have 6 families counting on me.
Absolutely.
And, right? And that's one thing about entrepreneurship that I don't think people understand.
Right.
Like they see us out giving out checks and, shaking hands and kissing babies, but what they don't see is the anxiety that it is when especially I have several single moms who work for me, right? And I know that their paycheck is providing for their whole family. And
They're dependent on you.
They really are. And they're dependent on the work that we're doing.
Yeah.
So that's why I think that's why I take it real seriously. Like you'll get me heated if you don't take care of my insureds, right? You're never going to get me yelling at you unless you don't take care of my people. And then, then I'm going to be like, I'm an Enneagram 8. I'm a challenger. Like, are you?
I don't know what that means.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, you definitely should.
Oh, my gosh. What are you?
It starts with a P.
You are.
Is this the DISC assessment stuff?
It's sort of like that.
It's kind of like, it starts with a P. I forget what it is.
I don't know what you are, but
Persuasive, maybe?
probably.
Yeah.
Probably. But challengers, like, if you see something going on, this is so off topic, but
No, whatever.
Right. But challengers are people who, if they see something going on, they cannot be quiet.
Yeah.
Like, I am John, whatever his name is, on What Would You Do? I am his dream. Like, I would throw down in any, it does not matter. In a grocery store, in a restaurant, if I see injustice, I'm going to hurt people. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I just
Where's that come from?
Well, it comes from a lot of places, but in one vein, it's just the makeup of who I am, right?
Okay.
So a healthy challenger, which I've been both healthy and unhealthy, a healthy challenger is able to see that the greater good, you want to help other people. Yeah. And so I think that's why I'm good at insurance. I think it's why I'm good at events, because I can see I can see a big picture and be able to know that we've got to solve these problems right now. Yeah. These others can wait. But
that's interesting. I really like that. I've never done a DISC assessment.
Absolutely, you should. Myers-Briggs as well.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's more of a psychological test, and it breaks it down like I'm a ENFP.
Ooh, nobody is that. That's really unique.
It's and my wife is an ENFJ.
So these are, what is EF? What you got me lost. This is over my head.
E starts with empathizing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
F is nurturing.
Mm-hmm.
F, I forget what the F is, and P is persuasive.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
And so we could rally a crowd, like, honestly, excuse me, like, people who are persuasive or are challengers, like, could get 1 million people. I've always said, like, I'd follow them into war, right? Which just sounds ridiculous. But there are people who you go, I trust that person.
Exactly.
Right? They're not, they have my best interest at heart, right?
Yeah.
And so I identify with that a little bit, where I'm going, look, if we have to go to war, we do. And we're just going to go, or whatever it is, right? So
when it's time to take care of business, we're going to get down and take care of business.
But the road back to you is that Enneagram business, and you might read that book. That could be a whole podcast itself. Like,
absolutely,
people do it all the time.
Never even heard of this before.
Oh my gosh.
This is first. Like, I know of DISC assessments and stuff like that.
It's totally different.
Right.
The thing about the Enneagrams is, it's so much more about why we do things. Like when you said, why are you like that, right? Well, challengers often are people who have been hurt, right? And so they see that injustice and like they just lose their minds, right? A healthy person can handle those situations and have a good outcome. So anyway, I think that's way off subject, but that's a really cool subject.
But it's also important that you do the Myers-Briggs as well, and then Google people who are your type, and it'll show you almost exactly who you are in other people.
Wow.
So then you can look at them and you can reference back and be like, I've always liked that guy, and it's probably because they're much like you. So like
that makes a lot of sense.
Like Will Smith, ENFP, Ray Lewis from the Ravens, ENFP. Bill Clinton was an ENFP.
Very empathetic. Really interesting about that, because people would follow him because they felt very comfortable.
Absolutely.
The leader aspect of it.
It is.
Right?
It's huge.
Well, this is interesting. I want to go do this now just because I'm curious to see what it turns out to be. Because like when you, like, I've noticed obviously throughout life, you run into people like you just like connect with in a weird way that you didn't have to really do a whole lot to connect with. And then there's others. So I'm assuming it's got a lot to do with that.
Absolutely.
It does. And I think it's really important to, because they talk about how Enneagram 8 women are really misunderstood.
Interesting.
Like, they're one of the most misunderstood classes. Sorry.
What is the...
It's because we're so bold. Oh. Because we are so bold that people think that we are, we cross lines. It's definitely a gender thing. Like 8 men, leaders of the world. Yeah. They're like, that cat gets stuff done. Right. And then they're like, that shrew gets stuff done, right? Where they're going, it's just different. Yeah. Because, again, like I was kind of saying, I can go into an event or whatever, and I can see all the things that we need to fix right this second. Well, that's a great quality, except for no one wants a woman in there going, this, and this, right? Which, it's a whole thing, but...
So with this knowledge that you guys now have of like your personalities and stuff, how has that affected your business choices, your decision making in your business? That's I'm curious about.
So before we get into the business, I'll talk mainly about my relationship with my wife.
Interesting.
So I misspoke. She's not an ENFP. She's an INFJ, which is like the rarest personality type ever. It's like 1% of the population has this personality type. It's like Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Buddha.
Your wife is really nice.
Yeah, Buddha. Like
Yeah,
she's very much that way.
But she's so humble
Right.
that she makes you feel so comfortable.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
She,
Yeah.
the second we went into their home, I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, Brant is a big personality. Like when we, other than whatever, big personalities, right?
Sure.
She's just grace. Where you're
Just grace is exactly right. Just
And
purely grace. So like early in my relationship with Nikki, I was always trying to prove and go higher and higher and higher and accomplish all this stuff so that she would just be happy with me. When in all actuality, she was happy with me from day one.
Yeah.
Like 100%. Like 100%.
it's important.
That's hard to find.
No, it's impossible to find.
Yeah, it is. But I think that what it says about that is it's so important to figure out who the people you're working with are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when it comes back to business, I started to understand my team members and I started to understand how badly I'd screwed up, right? And so I'd be like, well, that girl does not like me to criticize her, right? But just the way you're doing it. Like you can give me direct criticism and it might hurt my feelings, but I will appreciate the directness.
Exactly.
I need you just to be direct with me. I don't have time. You know,
Absolutely.
we don't have time. First of all, I never put in a text, hi, how are you? Good morning.
Neither do I.
Oh my gosh, people hate that
And
so
they
much.
hate it.
My team members,
I do
Miss
that.
Carol, you just go right in?
No, I'm like,
Oh my
if I
gosh,
message him,
forget
hey,
it.
morning, do some
No,
stuff in the
not
file
a
or something like
chance.
that.
Not a chance.
Oh.
Like my staff is always like, and good morning. And I'm like, oh, I'm
Oh,
so
yeah.
sorry.
Oh, yeah.
One time a team member was like, one of my staff, Miss Carol. Miss Carol is just a couple years older than me, just a couple, but she's mothered me like nobody's business, and I'm thankful for that, right?
Sure.
She says, say good morning to people because I am on task, right? And she finally said to me one day, she said, you're going to have to say hello to Fran. You're going to have to say hello to Frank every day.
Right.
I was like, okay. She was like, no. You're going to have to say hello to Frank every day. And I was like, all right, I'll try to do that. She said, no, you have to say hello and goodbye to them. And it isn't that I'm trying to be unkind. It's
Yeah.
that I am working.
You're just in it. And
I'm in it,
yeah.
right? Like I remember on when Steve Jobs, they were doing all those things about who's the guy who did Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg.
Mark,
Yeah,
yeah.
Mark.
Mark.
And they were like, he's dialed in, you can't talk to him. And I was like, I totally know how you feel, Mark. I mean, where if we're working, that's it. And anything that gets in the way of that is a hindrance, right? Or an annoyance.
Yes.
And it's not okay.
Especially breaking your
Oh my
concentration.
gosh. I can't get back. I'm so ADHD. I'm like, what was I talking about 4 days ago? I can't remember, which is why we have to write it down. But when you realize that you are, you're limiting that relationship and, you're stifling their growth as an employee because you can't be bothered to slow down, whew, that's convicting. And the same goes with your family,
Yeah.
your kids. Like my kids are some of my kids are kind of ADHD like me, but when they want me to pay attention to them, they have to basically be like, Mom, because I'm so in whatever I'm in, right? And that's not a healthy relationship. You've got to learn.
It's a way of learning because communication. We're back, folks.
Yeah.
Communication is so key when it comes to things and knowing how to communicate with individuals.
It is.
Right, because everyone is different. There's obviously, especially in the young generation, they're a little bit softer nowadays. Is that you can't be direct with them like you've talked about, and like how we can talk in
You
general.
know what though? I think that I would challenge that because
Really?
because I'm a challenger, but I would challenge that because my kids, they are not afraid to tell me what they think.
I bully my 10-year-old.
You should not.
I absolutely bully my
You
kid.
have to get them tougher. You have to get them
He's
tougher.
so nice and kind.
Right.
Like you haven't got to meet Riker yet, but I got so lucky.
Yeah, it sounds
I
like
got
it, right.
so lucky. He's kind, he's generous, he sticks up for others, stuff like
That's
that.
what I'm saying, right.
But like he is empathetic, so like he does, and so he cut his own hair about 3 months ago, and he just did a straight line across.
It's such a good job.
Right? And I was like, so I started this thing, and his mom's fully on board too. She's all about it. And I was like, hey, come here, kid. Let me line up this photo and make sure it's straight on the wall. You know, making fun of him with, you know, doing stuff. Because kids are mean. Kids are absolutely mean.
They are.
Being able to teach them how to take it,
Yep.
laugh about it, give it back.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing no one can say to you.
No,
you know?
exactly. I think humor is the only way I've gotten through my life, right? Being able to laugh at myself, at my mistakes, at situations. It is the difference maker. If you can learn to laugh at yourself and to just not take yourself so seriously, you're going to be a lot happier. And I think that we just got to give ourselves grace.
That's the hard part.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, as I'm learning more about myself, you know, I'm a big personality. I'm too much for some people, and I've had that ringing through my head my whole life. And I'm just getting to the point where I'm like, you know what? I am not. I am made exactly the way God made me. And I'm just not going to worry. I'm working on it. I'm not there. But I'm not going to worry about what other people think of me. And I just had an experience a couple weeks ago that was so powerful that my mom is getting ready to move down here with us. So like I mentioned, she's had a hard life, a whole lot of stuff. And really, we're going to move her down here. She's going to be in our big, beautiful house. Let's edit that. That sounded jerky. She's going to be in our beautiful house, which we're so thankful for.
Absolutely.
But we are. But I hate bragging, right?
Sometimes I think it's okay.
I know.
You've earned it.
Yeah, we've worked for it.
Put the work in.
We're still doing it. But my mom, you know, she's had a hard life, but now she's going to have. I was with my mom, and one of my sisters and my brother at my grandma's house, which is my mom's been living in. We just sold it. It was amazing. All worked out. And I was talking to them, and I just said, you know, I'm really working hard on this, you know, starting to understand myself and love myself. And my brother, like, screams, that's all we've ever wanted was for you to love yourself. And I was like, well, that was weird. And it was this, like, emotional moment where I thought, good grief, where, you know, you do, like you were saying, I resonate with that so much. Like, you're doing all these things because you want them to love you. And the truth is they already love you.
Yeah, they do.
And they don't need us doing all the heroic stuff. They just want us to be present. And that was the thing I took from my kids going, listen, lady, you've got to just pay attention. So.
No, thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah,
that was awesome. No, I just, you know, thinking, you know, back to communicating, that's the key to all of it.
It is.
And it's just being able to talk to one another. I do want to ask,
Yeah.
no one wakes up in the morning and goes, I want to do insurance for the rest of my life. Did you ever have that thought?
No.
I didn't think so. I've never had that
It's
thought.
certainly not sexy, but
How'd that all turn out? Because I'm assuming...
It was my father-in-law. So my father-in-law, I had graduated from college. I was working in Olathe with mentally disabled adults, and I thought that was great. And then there's a whole story there that is a hysterical story, but one of my patients or one of my clients beat the living crap out of me because she wanted mayonnaise and bacon bits. Like, this is a true story.
Whoa.
Right before I got married, she was so mad. She was a really big girl. She was almost as big as my husband. And she was nonverbal, and she really wanted mayonnaise and bacon bits. And I was like, nah, dog, you can't have mayonnaise and bacon bits. She proceeded to chuck me around the room pretty heftily, and I was like, you can have all the freaking bacon bits you want.
All yours.
Right.
That's for you. That's all. Those are you. So after that happened, my father-in-law asked me to work for him, and I was like, I'll take it. Right?
A little traumatized from just getting beat up.
And you know what? Insurance, when I first worked for him, it's just helping people, right? It's just helping people. And I learned a lot. Like, I cut my teeth on the front desk at my father-in-law's insurance agency for 11 years. And then by the end, I was running his agency for him pretty well. And I learned a lot about people. I learned about that it's a widget, right? Whatever, sales is a widget. Whatever it is that you're going to do, right? You got to do it to excellence.
Yes.
And you have to, the sales funnel, like everything, it's all a numbers game, right? So if I learned that, then I could be successful at my own agency. And so, and I have been. But no, insurance is not something that you wake up and you want to do. But if you have a servant's heart, it perfectly lends itself to that, because it really is serving people.
So it will give you that fulfillment.
Absolutely.
When you're looking for it.
Listen, man, when you deliver a death check for a life insurance policy, your life has changed. because you are coming in on the oh my goodness. I had an instance where a young person passed away, and we did not have the parent's phone number. Like, we had the kid's policy. We didn't have the parent's phone number, so I went to the funeral, and I was like, hi. And I knew I had money for them. And I said, my name is Jean. In a few days, someone from your family might call me, and I'd like to help, right? So we were able to give them money to pay for the funeral.
Yeah.
So they had borrowed money to pay for the funeral. Then we were able to pay the money for the funeral. And life insurance is one of those things that is so taboo. People hate talking about it, but it is so ridiculously important. And I'll tell you, it's important because it isn't about replacing the person or, going on a cruise. It's about that people grieve when someone dies, and they need time. So I really believe that life insurance, all it is doing is buying you time so that you can heal your family.
So you actually said something very interesting, because over the last few years, life insurance has become like a little bit of a topic on social media.
Oh my gosh, the GoFundMe.
Yeah,
It's
that.
awful.
The infinite baking hack is what I've heard. What is that? Why are people talking about it? Is it dumb?
It's not necessarily a hack.
That's what people are saying online.
Where you borrow the money from yourself?
Yeah. So there's two different policies. There's like a whole life and then the universal life, right?
There's three. There's whole life, universal, and term. Universal is a combination.
Right. So I do that. I use infinite banking.
All right.
Yeah.
Me too.
So if just to say you came into a sum of money, let's say you came into $100,000, somebody passed away. What you could do is you could buy an insurance policy for yourself that would probably pay out $1 million if you died for $100,000. But then every year thereafter, you could put another 10. You could overfund that policy, and whatever you overfund that policy for, you can borrow that money back against it. And it also works with the S&P index. S&P 500 index and some other mutual funds and stuff like that.
So
I'm not the insurance professional.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But it's interesting to hear you talk about doing
really.
that, because it sounds like it's not something you can only do with a little bit of money. It's a continuous process.
Well, there's lots of different ways.
Sure.
So let me give you one instance of using life insurance money as a bank. Okay. About 4 years ago, we were buying our house that we have now, and we hadn't sold our old house. Largely because Mama Jean likes to have a lot of stuff.
Oh.
Okay? Mama Jean has stuff, and so my realtor said, hi, we're going to sell your house after you've moved out. And it was a good plan. So we bought our house, but you need a bridge loan. Well, bridge loans cost...
Yeah, a lot.
So bridge loans cost a lot. So I needed $50,000,
yeah.
right? I needed $50,000. I borrowed $50,000 from my life insurance policy. When I sold my first house, then I paid myself back.
Right.
And all I had to pay was maybe $800.
Right.
Because it's a loan, correct?
It's
so
a
therefore, you
loan.
don't also have to take taxes out on it. That's
You don't
because
take
that's
taxes
the whole
out.
point.
No. The only time, now this is where you get into a little trouble with insurance, so I have to be very careful how I say this and how you present it.
Okay.
Life insurance is not taxable for the death benefit. So if you died, your significant other, it's difficult. Never mind. Sorry.
Yeah.
If life insurance, I can't do it. If something happened to Brant, Nikki would get all of his life insurance money, no tax. The only time that there's any tax on it is the earnings. So if you've put in $50,000 into the policy over 20 years, and now the policy has $51,000 in the cash value, you pay tax on the $1,000, not on the $50,000. But you never pay tax on death benefit unless the government changes it. Right. So life insurance is, first of all, how you build generational wealth. It's
100%.
amazing, right? And I know, I was totally going to call you, Brant. Dang it. Because I was like, I need to probably talk to Brant about his life insurance because first of all, okay, we'll do that.
Conversation.
But because you should always, you need to buy life insurance many times during your life. You should always
Really?
buy life insurance, in my opinion. Children do need life insurance. It is such a taboo subject, but if something happens to that child, you are going to need time to heal. You are going to need time to heal, and I've seen it many, many times. You need time. You need to not have to go back to work the next freaking Monday, which is what happens, right? Then also, kids need life insurance because it protects their insurability. So there's something on whole life insurance called guaranteed insurability or guaranteed purchase option, where even if that child is not healthy, they can buy 5-6 times more than that throughout their life. Like when they turn 18, when they turn 21, even if they're not insurable. This is a huge deal.
Huge.
It is. It really is. And I bought a ton of life insurance on my kids because my husband became completely uninsurable at 28 with a heart condition.
Oh.
And so the only life insurance we were able to get on my husband was the $250,000 that we had because I worked for an insurance agent, right? And so many people don't realize that life insurance is huge. I mean, you should have life insurance before you have a lot of insurance, in my opinion, because God forbid anything happen, you're going to need to pay for a funeral and you're going to need some time. So,
what are some products that you say that comes before?
Shoot, I'd say before cable. I mean, and I love my internet. Okay, but the truth is, like a person. How old are you? 35.
I'm about to turn 34.
Okay, 30, whatever.
Whichever.
Sorry.
We're close
Thank
enough.
you. That's right. You had said that you're a 90s baby, so I should have gotten that. You're actually 90 baby.
That's right.
My husband's a 70 baby, like on the 70s. So
It makes it
It
makes it so easy to know when time was. It's
does.
so easy.
It does. So I think that. What was your question?
It was like what are some things that like life insurance should come before?
So I can't tell you what life insurance should come before. I just would tell you that you need to talk to someone. Talk to an agent. I don't even care if you get a quote online at this point. Like, get some life insurance, because if something happens to you, your family doesn't care what kind it is,
Right.
where it is. They're just going to need the money, right? And so, again, I think that young people getting married should absolutely be getting life insurance. Like I said, you do it many times through your life. But when you get married, you are counting on each other's income most of the time, right? And then people also don't think about like stay-at-home moms. Good Lord. Do you have any idea what they do?
A lot.
They really do. Yeah, you better say that.
Yeah.
But she does a lot more than, she does more than stay at home.
Above and beyond.
Yeah, for sure. So it's one of those things. And again, life insurance is something that families need, but it's definitely something business owners need. Business owners oftentimes need life insurance because they don't want to be in business with someone else's partner, right? So like if you're in a partnership and one of you passes away, what happens to that business, right? A lot of times the business fails. Or one of the people, the wife or the husband whose spouse passed away, what are you supposed to do? You need to pay them, right? You need to give them part of the business. So you don't want to sell the business to do that. So it's called a buy-sell agreement or a key man policy.
There's a lot
There's
to
so much
insurance.
It's not just boring.
It's not just boring.
It isn't. And it's like when you were kind of talking about the borrowing from yourself and all that.
Right.
Insurance can do a whole lot, right?
Interesting.
It is. It really is.
So it really takes, sitting down with
need
a
a
professional
professional.
who has been doing it for 27 years.
Great. Yeah.
Listen,
And I would suggest talking to multiple.
I agree.
that I was going to ask because, one of the things is we were talked about before in our podcast is like finding vendors or people, like how, like when I'm shopping for something, what should I look for in an insurance person? What should I look for when it comes to making sure that this is the right fit for me?
Well,
So one of the things that I do as a consumer
Yeah.
Is I specifically look for insurance agents in small towns.
Interesting.
Because the insurance agent in a small town has to be reputable. And if they insure something improperly, it's going to get out and spread like wildfire.
They don't have a choice
They don't
but
have
to be good.
They have to be good. So if you're in a big city, say New York or
Right.
even Wichita, it's big enough that if you make a mistake, it doesn't get very far. But if Jean messes up in Derby, Kansas,
it does not play.
it doesn't play well, right?
Wow.
They'll have her on Derby chatter in a heartbeat.
Oh, Lord.
He's not kidding. And it's happened, like where anything, like there are misunderstandings. And
Right.
first of all, you have to remain a professional and not go on Facebook and blast people. Like you need to just have a conversation. But I think you're right about the small town and an insurance agent. Because when I went to Derby, I was an agent in Topeka, and I did a lot of things in Topeka, but I didn't do anything really community related. I was on a couple boards. But when I came to Derby, I made a conscious effort. Well, first of all, Mr. James Coffey, who I took over for, said when he had been an agent for 35 years in Derby, Kansas, and he was an institution and just a lovely man. He died a few years ago.
Oh,
But
rest in peace.
yeah, he was so sweet. But when he told me, I need you to do two things. I need you to take care of my customers, and I need you to join the Rotary Club.
Wow.
Because he wanted me to be invested in his community.
That's
and I was
amazing.
And so I did. And getting in, I joined the chamber and I joined the Rotary Club, and I've served on the boards for those things and for other things. And I realized that by investing in my community, it was absolutely helping my business.
Right.
That wasn't why I was doing it. I was doing it because as a good citizen, right? But the effect of that is huge. People would say, "Oh, I saw that you did this for the schools," or whatever. But when we talk about passions, one of my passions is helping single moms, because my mom was a single mom, right? And I want to help kids who are like me, right, who might not have had extra. And so I love helping out. One of the things I was able to do a few years ago that was very special to me was that our schools they were doing the summer food program. And one of the people asked me to sponsor the parents' meal. And so I did. So we were able to sponsor the parents' meal so that everybody in Derby could come in, all school-age children, and get a meal.
Yeah.
And I was able to sponsor the parents, because parents would come in and they could not afford the $5 whatever it is. And so we were able to set a fund up for that. And that was such a meaningful thing to me, because I remember the day that we no longer qualified for free and reduced lunch.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and I never ate at school again, because we just didn't have that money.
Right.
And so there are people who are in the margins, right, who just need a little bit of help, right? They don't need you to come in and take over their world, but they just need a little bit of financial help sometimes. And I think that through the Derby Community Foundation, that's where I gave that grant, was through the Derby Community Foundation. And that being involved with that has been able to help me to see so many places that have needs.
That's amazing. Being involved in the community like that, just being able to
sure.
invest into it. And that, in my world, that's called brand.
I know.
That's good brand of being an individual who is able to do the things that they're and step up and take those positions and work like that and do those programs and help people. That's just brand and good brand right there.
And I think that's what Brant's doing in Derby too, is helping young entrepreneurs. That is a huge passion of mine, but I don't have the storefronts to do that. But Brant does.
Yes.
And so by taking there's plenty of money for us. There's plenty of opportunity. We don't have to take it all in one deal.
Right.
You can give and get at the same time. You don't have to be greedy.
Yeah.
Right?
It doesn't have to be a home run every time.
It doesn't. Yeah, you're making some base hits, you're okay. My husband
Still getting on base.
You're still getting on base, right?
Right.
I saw Moneyball. Right.
Still getting on base.
You're still getting on base, and I think that's like my personality is like I want to conquer the world. Like I want to go.
You want grand slams.
I want a grand slam.
Yes.
I also recognize I'm 5'1", and I need to just adjust a little bit. And so just looking for opportunities, being aware of what's going on in the community, I think that's really important. And we were talking earlier, it's hard to want to tell everybody what you're doing. Like I believe in the Bible, right? I believe that you're supposed to, the biblical principle of generosity. I believe in that. It's been completely true my whole life. But I also remember in the Bible where it's talking about not, telling everybody what you're doing, right? You want to give in secret. And so I really bought into that for a long time. And you can delete this if you want, but it's the truth for me. This is when I came to Derby, I realized that being involved in the community and letting my customers know that I'm putting back into the community wasn't bragging. It was saying to my customers, thank you so much for trusting us. We're going to put back into our community.
Yeah.
And instead of it being a big bragging moment, like I don't want my name on the side of a building. So many generous people don't want their names on parks, right? I got to be honest. I don't think I'd mind, right? I mean,
if you wouldn't mind having your name left on one,
just one park, okay?
Right.
But
like a street.
It's really important I have a friend who just got a street named after him in Derby. Larry Gould, super great guy.
Congrats.
Yeah, he did. He got it. He got
That's
a
so
street.
cool.
Super neat. But it was civic duty. It was serving on all of these boards that
Yes.
nobody watches. Some of these things are very thankless jobs.
That grindy work that
It
a lot
is.
of people don't want to do, and
Right.
those step up to do it.
Right. And when you serve on boards, you get your lunch handed to you many, many times, right? It's
Oh, yeah.
not fun. But the work is worth it.
Interesting. Now, is that how you guys met? Because I know you guys are both down in Derby, working in the community. I know you're very involved as well. What's that origin story?
So we both have a mutual friend named Gus Torres. He owns, what's it called?
A Better Solution Health
Better
and Home Care.
Yep, a Better Solution.
He used to be my tenant. He used to share an office with me at my American Family
That's
office.
phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Great
yeah.
people.
Gus is my neighbor. He lives right next to me. So we share a fence line, and we were looking over the fence one day, and he was like, "Hey, my name's Gus," and he's kind of like this.
So neat.
He's a great guy,
Oh my
but
gosh.
like he's kind of big, and
Yeah.
he's also like ex-gangster dude.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, like
No.
ex.
I want to meet this guy.
Yeah, and he's like, so tell me your story.
That's exactly it. That's exactly what he does. He goes, that's exactly it. I
That's
swear.
that man's
Yeah.
ran around a few
Oh,
times.
man.
He's been around the block.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not, and I'm not afraid of most people. So I was
Right.
like,
Paying respect.
he was such a cool guy. So
Yeah.
he introduced us, but he introduced us like we talked on the phone, and we were talking about an investment, and I was like, "Oh, I am looking for a commercial kitchen." He was like, "I have a commercial kitchen." So we're on the phone at 9:30. We meet at like 10.
Right.
And so much fun. And we're sitting outside because his person had forgotten to come to give us the keys.
Right.
So we're outside for like 30 minutes. And I'm a whole lot. And he's just like, that's so nice. You know, we're just chatting away. And I'm planning.
yeah.
And I'm like planning the next 50 years of our life. Like, let's
Right.
do this thing, Brant. We can, we can do this. Like, you and me, let's do it.
Right,
Like,
right.
it's 10:05.
You just got attached by somebody, and you were 30 minutes into this new relationship, and she was already
No,
planning.
he was 5 minutes in. I was
Right.
like,
Man.
but that's when when I see opportunities, I get really, really excited. And my husband said, you have to stop meeting new people because every time you meet a new person, you come home with a new business idea. And I was like, I keep meeting cool people. Right?
Yeah,
So
they're doing cool stuff.
we were at Brant and Nikki's house that night for dinner.
Yep.
I mean, it was so cool, right? And my husband,
So we met early in the morning. It was a Saturday,
it was a Friday afternoon,
Friday afternoon.
10 a.m. Sorry.
Yeah, 10 a.m. in the morning, and then we ended up having a dinner with all of our friends and Jean and her husband Seth at the house. And
My husband was like, what in the... Oh, by the way, they have a gate. You can't get in. So we're at the gate trying to get in. And my husband's like, they don't want you here.
That invitation's been revoked.
He was like, they ain't opening the gate. Because he's like, people don't work like this. They don't meet at 10 a.m. and then have you
Right.
to their house. And I was like,
I
yeah,
do.
they do.
They
right?
can.
I do.
They absolutely
So
can.
when the gate finally opened, we were happy.
Yeah, we had a beautiful dinner and a
did.
couple drinks, and we just enjoyed each other. And
Yeah,
it's
it's
been
fun.
it's been a great friendship thus far.
How long's this been?
6 months.
6 months.
6
yeah.
months?
So October. No, we're crazy, man. Like we
Right.
got in it.
And the amount of
I
stuff that
love
we've
this.
done in 6 months.
Really, like
is-
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been really cool. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been really neat. So now so I do insurance,
Right.
but then my son got married a couple years ago, and I am cheap as the day is long, and I got a price for a photo booth, and it was like $1,000, and I said, well, that's stupid. So I bought one for like $7,000, and then I decided I would lend it out to
Yeah.
schools with my Jean Garinger American Family brand on it. And then I started going, this wedding is ridiculously expensive. I'm just going to buy all the stuff. And so now we've started this event company. It's called The Event Company.
The event
Isn't that a
company.
fantastic?
in Derby, Kansas.
In Derby.
In Derby? Okay, so is this like an actual structure, big building? What do we got
No,
going
we
on?
don't-
Give me the
We
logo.
don't have a venue yet.
Okay. We're working on it.
Seth, don't listen to that. We don't have a venue yet, but we have a DJ, videography, photography, photo booth. We have all the atmospherics, which means like all your table decor. We have just an amazing plethora of things. I do
And
the
access to everything else you need.
absolutely,
Just
absolutely.
so you can get whatever you need for a party.
Right. We're doing this weekend. The event company is doing karaoke at the Kansas Aviation Museum.
Okay.
They were like, "Can you do karaoke?" And I was like, "Amazon says I can." So
Yes.
we're gonna
Yes, I
do it.
can.
Exactly. And so it's being delivered today for a party on Saturday.
That's
and
phenomenal.
so my partner JD Burkholder is JD the DJ. Are you kidding me? So cool. What a great name. And so he and I are partners, and we do that. And then my son is a DJ. It's so much fun. We are like our whole family.
Good
the
job.
Garingers come in. Like we have a
They
wedding.
do.
We have a wedding, and you saw us
Yeah.
at the Derby Community Foundation. Our little
Yeah.
event company did all of it. 'Cause I sit on that board.
Okay.
So, it's kind of a gimme, but I charged them for stuff, and they paid me for stuff. It was like a real job, right?
Yeah, it was.
And we did all of the
phenomenal.
decor, right? It was really
phenomenal,
good.
yeah.
And so much fun. I'm learning new things all the time. But how I put that event company and my American Family together is that I serve on nonprofit boards. So I'm on a couple different things. I'm on the Legacy House is an amazing organization. They teach kids how to get out of poverty by entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Could it be more? Could it be more on our level, right?
I'm so happy entrepreneurship is becoming something that is teachable because, like, I mean, growing up pre-internet, we're talking about this off air. Like, there was no real outside world communication. Like, there was no Facebook, Instagram. There was no one putting stuff up to tell you that there's all this other stuff you can do. Like back in the day, it was like Tony Robbins and stuff doing. In
Gary
person,
D, right?
Doing in-person stuff. And now that you have access to this huge information, just like you just said, like, I just ordered this today. It'll be here tomorrow.
Right, for Saturday.
15, 20 years ago, you couldn't do things like that.
Right, but I think we've, like, a hustler's always kind of had a hustler's mentality, right?
You figure it out.
I cleaned up cigarette butts from Olive Garden lawn beds because I was
That's a good one.
Yeah. I had a 1-year-old home. I was just like, I've got to make some money. And you look for a need. You find ways, right? I love the story about the hot tubs.
Oh, yeah.
Hot tubs.
This is hysterical. This is completely something I would have done.
Hit it. Let's hear it. Come on.
So good.
So it was right when I came into Derby, and it was probably about 7-8 years ago. And I was looking for a business to buy. So I was just on Craigslist.
Okay.
And I was looking at the business section. And this ad kept popping up. It said hot tub covers for sale. And I was like, well, that's interesting. And I was like, I didn't really think much of it. And then I saw it again, and I was like, maybe this is a sign. I should think about this. So I opened up the ad, and I called this guy. His name is Rick Denzen. He lives in Kansas City. Also a real gangster kind of guy.
All right. Shout out Rick.
Yeah. Also a very gangster type of guy. So I tell Nikki that we're going to buy a hot tub company, and this is basically how it went. So I talked to him on the phone. I'm like, yeah, I'll take it, $20,000. I don't have the $20,000.
Thank you.
I don't have the $20,000, but I'm gonna figure it out. So,
right.
So
let me go figure out 20 racks really quick.
Yeah. So
you'll be fine.
So we drove down to Kansas City. Me and Nikki did, and there's this huge warehouse, like 80,000 square feet, completely full of hot tub covers, completely full from floor to ceiling. And I'm like, all right, Rick, I'll take it. I want to do the deal. And he says, well, it's $20,000. How would you like to finance it? I said, if I could give you $10,000 in a week, would you carry the rest of it for me for another year? And I could just make you payments every month off the hot tub covers that I sold. He's like, absolutely. If you give me $10,000 in a week, we're good to go.
Insane.
So then I come back home and I'm like, Nikki, well, we're going to get 10 racks. So I immediately
At least it dropped halfway down.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
It went from 20 to 10.
You got to make things manageable.
Yeah, so then I got on Facebook, and I looked for all the people that I knew probably had $20,000, and I put together this beautiful proposal. And basically I said, this is what I need. I want to buy this hot tub cover business, yada, yada, yada. And one guy raised his hand and said, yeah, I will fund your deal.
It happens.
And I got a loan for $20,000 from that gentleman, and I ended up being able to prepay for an entire year's worth of lease there in Derby. So I had the building basically paid for, and then I gave Rick the other $10,000, and I sold hot tubs for about 3 years and raised a little over $300,000.
What the hell?
Yeah, I was making about $100,000 a year.
Let's go.
Yeah.
That's insane.
But you have to be willing to say, I'll go look at some hot tub covers.
Yeah.
Right. And it's also having the knowledge to know how to make those type of deals. Because when we talked on the last episode, you come up with very creative ways for filling your vacancies and stuff of that nature. And like being able to come up with that on the spot. That's something that takes time and someone to teach you. You can't just pick that up right away as a newcomer.
Right.
You can't, but you also have to be a little fearless.
You have
because I will make, if I'm in a board meeting and they're throwing out ideas, I'm going to throw out 50, right? I don't care if you take them, but I cannot keep them inside because I will actually die.
It has to come out.
If you don't take my idea about coasters, I'm going to die, right? It's so stupid. But I don't care if you don't take them all. But the fact is, you have to be willing to know that you're going to have some goose eggs, right?
Yeah.
You got to be able to know, like a true entrepreneur knows you're going to screw it up royally, okay?
Oh, yeah.
But, and it's very scary, but I know that I can hustle, I can work my way out of almost anything, right?
And a true hustler also can see a true hustler and we love to stick together.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
if you're working, I don't mean to say hustle like take advantage of people.
No,
like
No. Hustle's getting out there
No.
and
Grind.
the job
Right, the
done,
grind.
grinding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hustling.
I think there's such a negative connotation to
Yeah.
there really is. Like I was willing to do just about anything for my family, right?
Absolutely.
Anything legal. Okay. Anything legal for my family. And I think that it's really important. And there are people who like a 9 to 5, right? And what I was kind of talking about earlier, like people don't understand the stress of knowing that these people depend on you.
Yeah.
That is not a 9 to 5 person most of the time.
They have
right?
no idea.
If you're a 9 to 5er, the stress of taking on additional people would scare you. It does not scare me because I know what we can do together.
Yes.
Right. And so I think that, like I said, I hate the negativity around it because
Sure.
it's just about someone who is passionate. And when you are passionate about helping other people, when you're passionate about helping other people, you just look for opportunities.
I think, when people think of hustling, it's become like a buzzword, in media. Hustling results to usually drug sales or something like that.
Right,
It's like,
right.
when you tell people,
Right.
I used to go out and hustle cleaning windows. 'Cause
Right, that's exactly
one
right.
of my first hustles, like legitimately hustles, we'll
Right.
call it that, was like I started a window cleaning company.
No, it's
Threw on the
brilliant.
belt and just go out and knock doors.
Right.
And it's, you just keep going. That's hustling.
I
Getting
love
out there
it.
to do something.
Yeah.
It's being
Cigarette-
active, pushing the needle forward, some way, shape, or form.
You just got to get it done. And I
Yes.
think being able to say, I don't know how I'm going to have 20,000, but I'm going to figure it out.
Yes.
Right. I mean, everything is figure outable. If you're willing to think differently, you're never going to get, in my opinion, you're not going to get there with that 9 to 5 mentality. So our kids, like we really pushed college. We pushed really on our kids' butts about college because my husband and I both went to college.
Right.
And my husband was a teacher. He just retired. But we were really on them. And now my daughter went to college. I'm so proud of her. She has her undergraduate in psychology, just like me, and she's going to go on to become a counselor. She's
Right
going to be
on.
amazing at that. My 2 boys, they're just different. They're
Yeah.
built different. My oldest worked for me, and he did 5 years in a machine shop and loved it, like the technical stuff,
Yeah.
loved that whole thing, and didn't go to college. And I couldn't be more proud of him because he is figuring out what he wants to be a filmmaker. Right,
Right
that's
on.
his dream is to be a filmmaker, right? And so I'm ready, like do it, like write as much as you can, do all those things you can, and also it might not look like a 9 to 5 job. It might look kind of messy sometimes. He's a DJ for me, right? So when we have gigs, everybody's going to pitch in, and it's about, first of all, I love that my family does pitch in.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to come in.
It's really cool.
It is really cool. We're going to come in full force. When the Garingers come, it's going to be a mess. We're going to be loud. My kids are a lot like me. My husband's very quiet, very, very composed.
He's
he the
also like
anchor?
6'5" and huge. Just
He is not playing.
No,
He's
he's-
6'6".
He's a big boy.
He's a big
6'6".
boy, yeah.
Yeah, he looks like a offensive lineman.
He was an offensive lineman. That's where I met him.
Yeah.
He was an offensive lineman in college. That's
Got
right.
yourself
And
a
so-
big boy up
I did.
front.
I
I respect it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we were
But
friends.
he is the coolest guy.
He is so cool.
God, he is just so cool.
So he's been obviously a big support throughout this
Gosh.
journey. Like,
Yeah.
so when you changed from, working for your father-in-law to
Yep.
your own practice, I'm curious, what was that transition like, and
Right.
what, like the conversations you were
gosh.
having with your husband?
Well, my father-in-law took me to lunch on my 10th anniversary that I was working for him. And he was like, hey, you've been here 10 years. And actually what happened was right before that, I got called for jury duty. And this is what happened, though. I have to tell you the truth. I got called for jury duty, and I had 3 kids, and I was working for my father-in-law. But I put on a pink suit and pearls and some heels, and I had a briefcase. Dear God, I had a briefcase. It's the truth. And I parked across the parking lot, and I walked in, and I heard the clickety-clack of my heels. And I went, oh, my gosh, I wanted a career. And that is a true story.
Oh, the slap of
And I got into jury duty. They didn't even need me. So I walked back out to my car, and I went, I wanted a career. I forgot about that. But hearing the heels, I thought
The sound was
of
the
my
cue.
heels.
That's
It was
And
really
the
crazy.
feeling that you had when
Like
you're walking.
I had my
in
little
there.
briefcase, like
And
a
the
full-on
briefcase,
nerd,
yeah.
right?
You feel important. You feel like empowered.
I was like, I'm going to go do something important, right? And
Yeah.
raising my kids was so important. And
Yeah.
I'm so glad I did that. My youngest was 7. He would have been like 4 when I started my agency. And so I love that. That was great. And my husband was a private school teacher. So like we had no money. We were dirt poor, but we didn't care because we were building our family.
Yeah.
the part where my husband looks like a freaking hero is when I was 4 years into an agency in Topeka, and I got an offer to take the agency in Derby. And I had a BlackBerry.
Oh, shout out BlackBerry.
a while ago.
This is my favorite.
And I was in a meeting, and the person who eventually hired me down here in Derby, she said, hey, would you ever consider moving? Because I'd done really well in Topeka, but I was limited.
Right.
Because in insurance, you take over books of business. Like you
Yes.
start with a book of business, and then if you do really good, then they give you another book of business. I live in the captive world, so I can't buy another book of business. So they give them to you, which is actually better. But it's a lot.
All right.
Yeah. And so I texted my husband. I said, hey, would we ever move? And he was like, I'd follow you anywhere, baby. And I was like, okay, maybe. Is that for real? And so we moved for my job in 2007. My husband quit his job so we would move to Derby for my job. And no one could believe it.
Wow.
People kept saying, why would you move for her job? And he was like, because she's my sugar mama, and I'm going wherever she goes.
He saw the potential.
He
saw
did,
the vision.
absolutely.
He knew that you were going to be the
Right.
one to knock it out the park. He knew that it was going to be you to, like, he believed in you.
What he didn't know was that I was going to have to commute for 5 months. I commuted for 5 months. So he had to raise all the kids at home. I left on Sunday, came home on Friday, and I was like,
By
sorry,
the time you
sucker.
got home, he was like, thank God.
I know, it was insane. But again, when you talk about being a big supporter, it's more than just lip service. Like
Yeah.
if you're going to have someone who has crazy ideas and is willing to take the risks, you really need that stable person.
Yeah.
For me, I did. I
Oh,
needed
same.
my husband.
I was curious with you as well because like I wanted to ask that.
It's the
last
big
time.
swings, right? You're taking the big swings, and you might, have a whiff.
Crash and burn.
You do, but having that family support and having those people around you who are always going to give it to you straight.
Yes,
Right?
that's important.
I think that's so important, and believe in you, and I've been thankful for that.
That's amazing to have. I know, like in my experience, I've had some support from family members. Father, grandma has been a big help.
Aw.
Right, grandma, like I love that woman to death.
Yeah.
Other than that, like I've had girlfriends in the past throughout the process. They don't get it.
They don't get
They
it.
don't see it.
They want security.
They want, and that's not the path I've chosen.
Yeah. I think that's interesting, and that the security is a big thing for people. I never had security. So like my childhood was ugly and all that business. And so because I didn't have security, I'm not afraid.
Yeah.
Like my kids will say to me, why do you go without abandon? And I'm like, because I didn't ever have a backup in the beginning. So I'm not afraid because we'll figure it out, right?
It's gonna work.
It's either going to work or it's not, but I'm going to learn something from it. But I think when you've had kind of a difficult childhood and, some of that insecurity, I'm going to work. We're not going to be hungry. Right?
And I also think that, so this is just a personal opinion I've been playing with lately. As we've grown as a country in America, we have what I call the shield.
Right?
We are shielded by everything.
What do you mean?
So currently, obviously, there's wars going on
Right.
over there.
Right.
We don't have anyone bombing us. We
Right.
don't have
That's
any
fair.
neighbors who want to do
Right.
anything violent and invade. So we have these blinders of like, this is what life is like.
No,
and they
you're
think
right.
life is like that everywhere.
No,
It's not. So when you've had a childhood, that's already been broken because you know that you've seen the bottom of the barrel,
Yep.
the worst. So that's gone. So you don't have that. And I think that's a
Yeah.
big problem. A lot of people just don't understand. Like, we are very special and like no one else truly
We
lives
have
the
a
way
lot
we
of
do.
privilege. We really
Yes.
do.
And it's understanding and being able to acknowledge that.
Yep. And
Because
using
then
it
you
for
can
good.
change your perspective on
And
it.
using it for good.
Yes.
I think using your privilege for good is the one of the reasons why I'm such a challenger, right? Because I'm going, absolutely, I will never, I won't sit back when I see something wrong because I have privilege, right? And I absolutely should be stepping up for and speaking for people
Yes.
who are marginalized.
They just, people just don't have the luxuries and everyday life. And it's, breaking that perspective is so
Right.
important just in general. Sometimes it's better to break your perspective, put yourself into someone else's shoes and be able to look at it and like,
Right.
all right, now I can understand it. And like, you'll be more grateful for your everyday things.
For sure.
Getting up every day, enjoying like traffic here, like it's not horrible. Just
Seattle is awful.
Seattle's so bad. That's what I was going to reference. Just
Yeah.
being in the same country,
Yeah.
2,800 miles away.
Man.
The culture's so different just from state to state.
Is
Now
it?
you go outside of our borders, it's way, and I really want people to truly try to like see that more.
You need to travel.
Yes.
Our kids are pretty well traveled. I mean, not well traveled. They're cruise traveled. Okay.
I'm gonna throw my son's mom under the bus for a moment. She'll be okay. She's a Derby true and true. She's born and raised there, and I love her to death. She's an amazing mom. I want her to leave Derby for a year, 2 years. Just leave for a little bit.
It's really nice there.
I know.
I love it.
We love
I
it.
love it, but like it's perspective.
Yeah.
It is perspective. Like she likes Denver, and I told her, go. She has friends there. Go live there for a year. Go work, see the life. Come back. I don't care. It doesn't bother me.
What do you think about coming back to Derby?
I would never leave.
Yeah, but did you say you had come? You were coming to Derby?
Yeah, I was in Wichita.
Oh, you were in Wichita.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually was in Southern Illinois in medical school,
Oh,
and then I came straight back to Derby.
Really?
Yeah.
So you've never thought about like being anywhere else? Like obviously travel to go see, but like actual putting down roots and to live.
See, I have friends in a lot of different places,
Right.
And I look at their lives, and I look at the opportunities that they're given, and they're slim and far between comparatively to
Here.
like
Oh my
the
gosh.
opportunities that we have here.
there is something really special about Derby.
Why
I'm
do you
not
guys
joking
think that there's all
even,
that?
even including Wichita,
Wichita, right.
you know,
Yeah.
like Forbes just said.
Yeah, I saw that today.
Forbes said that Wichita in 2024 is one of the best cities to move to.
Yep.
Great, we're
Sure
about to
did.
get a whole influx of people.
Right, right.
There's
And
no housing.
there's
They're
no
not coming.
housing, but the opportunities that are here
Right.
and the cost of living,
So good.
and you know that whole
My
thing.
friends back home,
my gosh.
they cry every time I tell
Yeah,
them.
you know, and
And Brant's house would be like $15 billion in
It's a
California.
nice house.
It is a really nice house. But even, I mean, like everything is so, it is affordable. Even,
Right.
I mean, it's so good. We have thought about going other places briefly, but we just love to travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like go travel, come back. And I think what's so great about this area is that you can have a really profound effect.
Yes.
Like you can choose something to support and you can crush it,
yep,
right? You can really make a difference. And I think in a huge place, that would be different, right?
It's harder to do in like, cause you know, in Seattle, it's suburbs and, you know,
Yeah.
different boroughs. So there's obviously community of some neighborhoods, but it's not like a whole community of a whole town.
Right.
It's not the same thing. There's and like being in the small town with Derby, there's more actual true to true human connection because of the lower population. That's
No,
what
it is.
I would challenge you that if you came to Derby and you said, "I'm going to be Derby's social media guru,"
You really could.
in
I have some
3
office
to 5 years, you would be as branded as Jean is and as branded as I am in the city of Derby.
really.
Let me tell you something,
Absolutely.
dude.
We're gonna have to talk some more.
Derby really does, and it supports its own.
It supports it.
It absolutely supports its own. Because and this might be off topic, but the Community Foundation, I will sing its praises all day long.
Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal.
It is because it talks about philanthropy within, like giving from your business. And I think the Community Foundation, they definitely have individual donors, but they have a lot of businesses. And a lot of those stakeholder businesses in Derby have been generous forever.
Wow.
Right. A couple of years ago, we did the 20 Acts of Generosity. It was phenomenal. It was like 25 acts of generosity. So individual businesses signed up, and we had to do a video about and I did the school lunch program, was one of the things that I had sponsored. So it was their 25th year, and they were trying to find all these acts of generosity. And one of the banks, Citizens Bank, gave every one of their employees, I think it was like $200 or $300, and they had to go out in the community and do good without referencing the bank.
Just to take the money out and go do something.
Take the money. They did it, and then all these different things happen. One of the little kids that won, his name was Brody, and he was doing all kinds of stuff for the police department, and it was during the time when things were kind of ugly with national news and all that business. And this sweet little kid came in and just was loving on the police, and that was huge, right? And all these different acts of generosity. So there's something to be said for actually acknowledging them, because like it helps people to say, I could do that. I could go help. One of the big initiatives that are going on right now in Derby is in the Oaklawn area for the Lord's Diner. The Lord's Diner is serving like 300 meals a night out of Oaklawn. And it's a free dinner.
I didn't realize Oaklawn was part of Derby. I thought it was part of Wichita.
It's part of Derby.
Oh, okay.
It is. We have 2 schools over there, I'm pretty sure. 2 schools over there.
schools, yeah.
And and there's Oaklawn Activity Center. Amazing things. I didn't ever go to the Oaklawn Activity Center except for I volunteered to coach Special Olympics volleyball. Now, do I look like a volleyball player to you? Nope. I saw it on Facebook, and I was like,
I could do that.
I could do that.
I can help
I
you
could
hit the
do
ball.
that. And I did
Absolutely.
it this fall. So when I was doing that in October, I was like, sure, I can do that. So my team member, Miss Carol, who I love more than life, she played volleyball. She knew what she was doing. So I volunteered for 10 weeks at the Oaklawn Activity Center. Ooh, I sucked. But those kids, it was for special needs. It was for Special Olympics. And it was the most fun ever.
I bet.
And I was like, and it cost me nothing but my time.
Yeah, it's
Right.
just time.
And so and there are so many places that you can volunteer, and it's super, super important, and you just need to get off your phone and go do it sometimes.
That's amazing. Like my thought process, because of being in the community for the both of you, I'm sure I'm about to get a pretty good answer for this, but how important has networking been for you throughout this journey, not only in insurance, but also in the community?
It's huge. I didn't leave Derby until after COVID.
Oh,
I mean, like I would come up here for, some social things very rarely. After COVID, I have started networking in Derby pretty hard, right, for 3 years. And now I'm involved in 2 or 3 groups up here. I'm involved. I'm sitting on 2 different boards up in Wichita. But I cut my teeth, of course, in that civic mindedness in Derby. And then I'd done some good there, right? But I just think it's huge. I'll just go back. I think that it's really important. Like in my job as an insurance agent, people call me for everything.
right.
They need to know, do you have a air conditioning guy? Do you have a whatever? Do you have a car guy? Well, the answer is yes, I do. And it's because I've made true relationship with them. And I mean, that's one of the things Brant and I think we're pretty good at is I've got a guy for that, right? And so and knowing that you can call someone, and if there's an issue, they're going to help you. I think that's really huge. So networking is huge. I think that realizing that your businesses have potential to really impact lives, not just your employees, but people in the community, is really important.
That's amazing. What about you? Because I know the way that you connect for your business when you're working. What about, do you shift mindsets when you're in the community standpoint?
Absolutely. So I'm a value deliverer by nature.
Go in on that.
So like if I am talking to you, like just our relationship, it started out like, hey, from Anna Kate. Anna Kate says, hey, there's this guy who wants to shoot some podcasts. I come through here, and the first thing I want to do is, how can I help you with your podcast? And I do that with everybody. And I introduce people just like I've done with you to everybody.
Absolutely.
So if I have people that are also value deliverers in my network, I'm going to bring those people into your life because I want you to be lifted through all of who I am. And who I am is my network. It's my people. It's my family. It's inviting you over to my house where we can just sit down and have a cup of coffee, like that all is a part of who I am and my networking prowess, if you will.
Yeah. That's important right there.
Well, what's important, I think, is being genuine, that it's not about you.
All right.
And I really think that that's the difference maker. So often people are like, why do you want to help so much? And it's because they haven't seen that before, right?
They're not used to that nourishment.
They're not used to people truly having a selfish mindset. And I think, so I'm a Rotarian, and Rotary is service above self. So it's like Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts for adults. I love it.
Okay.
So
That's pretty cool.
It is really cool. So Rotary, they have a 4-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Right?
Those are good questions.
Those are great, right? And their motto is service above self. Again, it goes back to being generous, that knowing that when you put good things out there, they will come back. It might look differently than what you think, but if you are always, for me, I try to be in the giving mindset at all times. And I certainly fail at that, but I've never gone wrong, right? People will take advantage of you.
Oh, yeah.
And that's
It's going to happen.
The thing is, people who are close to me get livid. They're like earlier today, Carol would not give out my cell phone number. I was like, you can give my cell phone number. It's okay. I am a big girl. If I want to say no, I will say no.
Right.
But people, if you're generous, you really can get taken advantage of.
Yes.
Very, very easily. And the thing for me is, I don't worry about it anymore. If I get taken advantage of, that says a lot about you, not about me.
Absolutely.
And so I'm just going to keep trying to do the best I can do, and it works out, right? And God's blessed me tremendously from that, for sure. So
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love the community aspect of
Yeah,
it. That's, I think, my favorite part. What are some things that you would like to see for the community come in the future?
I want more businesses to get involved,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah, I think the more mom and pop businesses we can bring to Derby, the better off that whole culture is going to be. I think you find it a lot easier to do the things that Jean does every day as a mom and pop, as an entrepreneur. And I'm not talking about like, oh, I own a franchise and it's a McDonald's on Rock Road. I'm talking about like you put in the hustle, you put in the grind, you built this business.
Like the Coop.
Like the Coop, yeah.
Right.
Like, and shout out to the Coop. But
throw that in.
Yeah,
a lot of those businesses, just being in that culture, you're going to see a lot more humanitarian and civic duty out of that, because it's also that giving nature that helps you go out there and accomplish more. I mean, as long as you're getting you get a reward from giving to people.
Yes.
And that is, it's not just about profit. It's not about your bottom line. It's about how much value can I deliver. And I think that the mom and pops of the world, and if we could bring a ton of those into the Derby area, we would be a lot better off.
And I do think there are so many coming. And one thing about this generation, like my kids' generation, is they don't want to work 40 hours a week for somebody else and making the profits, right?
Right.
They're figuring out what they enjoy doing, and that's going to look a lot different. Like I've listened to Gary Vee. He was like, forget about the great resignation. How about the great not even trying to start, right?
Yeah.
So as we're trying to find employees, that's one of the huge things for me is we call it, what would Jean do? And that's super sacrilegious, but it's the truth. What would Jean do? If Jean would go to her kids' show, you go to your kids' show.
Yeah.
If Jean would be with her husband at the hospital, you go, right? Which those are pretty normal things.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, those were terrible
Well,
examples.
humanity type things. Like,
Right. I'm not going to chain you to your desk for 8 hours, right? If you have an issue, go take care of it, make it up on the back end, whatever.
Right.
And that keeps employees for a lot of years. When you realize, when you celebrate their families, and we send silly things to my team members who work remotely to their kids, right? Because we're just trying to, engage. We went during the pandemic. We did bingo on Zoom, right? We were just trying to do anything to make it so you didn't feel alone and that you were included, right? And I think that in Derby, there are so many teamwork things within the community, so many businesses that do partner. And when I think about what I would like more is, I wish people understood the joy of helping someone who doesn't deserve it.
Oh,
right?
That's big.
Yeah, it is. It's when you help someone who isn't really cool.
Right.
It's real fun to give someone who's really popular help, right? But there are so many. I have a good friend who helps single moms, like people who might have given their kids up for adoption, which is whatever, but she comes alongside those people and says, I'll help you for the first year or so. And it ends up being 10 years. But she comes alongside them, right? And rather than telling them what they need to do, she'll babysit the kids, she'll help. And if we would just do some of that grassroots stuff, and I think that's what our communities need, is people to come alongside them, not to tell them what to do, but to just say, I'm here to help.
It's the old saying, it takes a village.
It does, really.
It absolutely does. And it's truly about community.
Well, look at what happened when you had all that water damage. You had all those people come in.
Just like this.
It was insane. Yeah.
Give me this story.
So it was early February, I think.
It was cold.
Yeah, it was cold. It was really, really cold. It was like negative 14 or something like that.
And everybody was having water main breaks.
Yeah,
I do
everybody was
remember
having-
this.
It was real bad.
And I had bought the big strip in October, and then we switched insurances twice, and we had just switched into another insurance policy, and then 5 days later, a water main breaks in the building, and we had like 6 inches of water throughout a 10,000 square foot building.
Oh.
And it was so much that it spilled over into the church building next door, which put a whole bunch of water into their building as well.
No.
So it ran probably for like 8 hours, just like a big, like 2-inch water pipe for like 8 hours.
good.
But here's
Right.
what happens.
So then I called my buddy who works at NCRI, who also lives in Derby. And I said, hey, man, can you help me out? He brought over about 14 people in 30 minutes. And then I called all my employees, and then they showed up. And then they called their friends, and they showed up. So I had about 30, 35 people in this building cleaning it up within 30 minutes of understanding that there was a problem.
Yeah.
Now, these are all people you have personally given to.
No.
Not
No.
necessarily.
No, not
No,
necessarily.
these are just people who knew who he was, knew he
Right.
was in need,
Right.
and like
Dang.
that's the networking, buddy.
That's
That's the
the
networking.
networking.
Like if I have a need, we're so blessed with good friends, because if you want to have good friends, you have to be a good friend, right?
Man.
That's what my mother-in-law always told us. Right? Got to be a good friend, and so that's what happens. And I do believe that that's the community of Derby.
Absolutely.
I really do. And honestly, it's the community of Wichita too. Like you were saying, I mean, look at how many times you do see a GoFundMe, or you do see something like the League 42 deal.
Yeah.
That was Bob Lutz is a friend of mine, and when they ruined that statue, overnight they put that GoFundMe. They raised $250,000 and had to shut it off.
Dang.
Because they were like,
Too much.
well, because they'll do other things, right? But they're going to
Right.
be able to replace this bronze statue. But that was so fast, because Wichita really is a fantastic small town. I mean, it is. And-
I've definitely enjoyed it here.
Yeah.
Coming from Seattle, I talking about moving earlier. There's a few places that look intriguing, but like the slow life, the traffic, you can't beat it. And if you want to leave the city, you actually can by just going in any direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't do
There's
that in
farmland.
Seattle. You go north and south. It's 200 all the way from Everett, Washington, Marysville, all the way down to Tacoma. It's all interlocking city for
Yeah.
150 miles, and it's
Wow.
hard to get out of that. You can't go west; you just can go swimming, and that water's cold. You don't
It
want to
is
go in
really
there. And if
cold.
you can head east, go to the mountains and stuff like that. But
It's busy.
here, yeah, and
busy.
I don't know. This place was really good for me.
I'm glad.
Moving here.
That's
It
really
really
good.
was.
And you came because of your son?
No. So my son was had here actually. So when me and my father moved here in 2011, it was the summer that Kansas had set the most consecutive triple degree heat
Oh, yeah.
days in a row.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
bad. I was in
Of
Hawaii.
96. No, he unfortunately was going through a divorce at the
Yeah.
time, and he was in aerospace.
Oh.
In Seattle, they had a whole thing,
Yep, I
and they
know.
wanted to build a new facility up in Newton. So his company was like, hey, we're moving to Newton. And he was like one of 2 people who decided to go and raised his
Wow.
hands. He came to me, he knew like fresh out of jail,
Yeah.
wasn't doing anything productive with my life. Like literally.
He was like,
He's like, I'm moving out of state to Kansas. And I was like, what in the hell is in Kansas?
Nobody chooses Kansas.
Right? I was like, obviously the jokes you can make, Dorothy,
We
Yellow
know.
Brick Road,
Yeah, we're from
like,
here.
right? Yeah. So obviously I pop off with a couple of those, but like I went to an actual a presentation from the company that they put
Oh,
on for the
cool.
city of Derby. I only had one question. When's the last time there was a tornado?
They said 92.
The technical
When was
answer apparently is inside the city of Wichita. There hadn't been one for many, many years, but they didn't tell me that all the time come in and swing around and either hit Derby or Andover or, they didn't tell me none of that. They're just like, oh, in Wichita? Nah, you're all
It's
right.
called packaging.
Yeah. But no, like we talked about it, and I was, when we first moved here, we were used to Seattle prices. We knew gas
Oh my
prices being
gosh.
$4.50, $5, like even back then, like we saw it here. It's like, what the heck? Even the silliest things, like I don't smoke cigarettes anymore, but like packs of cigarettes were half price from what they
Yeah.
were in the Seattle. And then we found up on Rock Road where we first moved into, and it was not a duplex, a townhome, 2-story,
Yeah.
car garage, nice. We wholeheartedly expected 2,500, 2,000.
15.
She was like $800, $850. Dad actually asked. He's like, "Can I get 2?" And like just because like okay, we'll take both.
Yeah,
And, just being not used to that and like starting to learn that in this part of the world and like coming from a very blue state to a red one. That
Yeah.
was interesting.
I think we're
too.
getting purple now, though, don't you?
Little
I feel like Wichita is. I think that the area around here, people have good hearts,
right.
and so even if they're politically diverse, I think that they try to find the middle ground.
Absolutely.
And those who
I would
don't,
agree with that.
I have some words for you. Like, just freaking be nice. It's not that hard.
It's not that
Just
hard.
be nice.
Just live your life.
Yeah,
That's
it's not your business. Look at
All
that.
right. As we wrap up episode 1, well, your first appearance. It is
21.
episode 21, your first appearance.
right.
I'm assuming the one of many to come.
Sure.
Brant, I'm excited to have you back as well. I'm going to ask you this question again. You've already answered it once, but you,
Oh, dear.
this is my wrap-up question for you. You get up in the morning. It's a normal day.
Yeah.
Getting ready for the day, say goodbye to kids, husband, all that fun stuff. You walk outside, but this morning, you run into 18-year-old Jean.
Oh,
You
my
guys
gosh.
lock eyes. You're
Poor
able
thing.
to give her advice, but you cannot give her all the secrets. What would you tell her?
I've thought about this. I've absolutely thought about this because I think 18-year-old Jean just wanted to be perfect.
Yeah.
Just wanted to be what everybody else wanted them to think. And I would love to tell 18-year-old Jean, you are going to be loud, you are going to be funny, and that is okay. That is okay. Just embrace that and own it, and don't shy away from having a blast. And it's going to be a wild ride, but it's going to be a blast, and you're just going to enjoy it.
That's amazing advice to
Yeah.
give to yourself. Brant, you got another one for us?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let him dig deep.
So last time I told him it's going to be all right, right?
Be all right.
I believe it. I was going to say that.
This time I'm going to say 18-year-old Brant, take bigger swings earlier in life.
Yep. I like it.
Yeah.
Bigger swings. Do you
Yep.
feel like you weren't taking big enough swings back then?
I think there's like a profile and a way that your brain acclimates to taking risk.
Right.
So like if you take risk earlier in your life, you're able to accomplish more later in life because it just compiles on each other. So it's like the first time it's like, I'll go mow that lawn for $20 when I know it's a $40 lawn.
Yep.
You know, I'll take that risk and
Right.
hopefully I'll get return business. So you start there and you start thinking, okay, well that one panned out. Maybe the next one I'll do something a little bit bigger. Maybe take a little bit bigger risk. I would have started taking bigger risks sooner on the business end.
I love that. That's a great advice. Start taking them swings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back then, you probably didn't have as much to lose either.
Yeah, no.
Might as well.
Yeah. I agree. I totally think that's great. And I think it's risk adversement, right? Or whatever that is. Like you don't want to risk because you want to keep everything secure and safe. And again, when you haven't had that, you're like, let's go.
Yeah,
right?
there's
it can't
no
get worse.
security blanket.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm always going to be able to find food, right? I'm
Right.
going to be able to find food and I'm going to be able to find shelter. Other than that, let's do this, right?
Yeah.
Let's just get out there and I think letting our kids, I know you're trying to wrap up. I'm sorry.
No,
but
go
I just
ahead.
think-
I
just
love
think
this.
letting our kids have the room to not do what we think they should do.
Absolutely.
You've got a
Oh.
you've got a little one. Like I've got 25, 21, 19, and we have our niece who's 14. And it doesn't have to look the same for everyone, right? It doesn't have to look the same. And try it. What is the harm in trying it, right? If you have a passion about something, just get out there and try it. You're probably going to fail, but just keep trying it.
You are gonna
keep
fail.
Going. You are. Just keep going, and just embrace. I really want people to embrace who they are because I've spent so much time worried about what other people thought and, trying to limit myself. And it's just not worth it because when you're the best version of yourself, you can help a lot more people.
It's exhausting.
It is.
Trying to be someone that you're not is exhausting. Be yourself. Take bigger risks. Enjoy life. Be loud. Laugh. Love.
I'm in.
Be angry. Get after it.
Well, I
and
don't
get
usually
out.
get angry.
I get angry all the time. It's my favorite. It's my favorite emotion. Honestly, anger has helped me create this. This was made out of anger.
Really?
Yeah. I was pissed off at my old boss / business partner.
Yeah.
My window cleaning company was made out of anger. I went through a whole process to get hired on as a sales position in 20 when I got laid off, and they ghosted me after a week.
Yeah.
Out of anger and me being mad, I started a window
You're like,
cleaning
I'll just
company.
do it my dang self.
That's-
Thank you very much. I know.
Everything that I've done, and it's really weird. I just kind of made this connection lately. I'm a huge nerd. I love the Avengers.
Oh, yeah.
Love the Avengers. Everyone here has seen the first one, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
At the end of the first Avengers, when Loki fails, and
Yeah.
he doesn't take over New York, there's the cut scene, and it's black, and all of a sudden a door opens up, and you see the gauntlet, and it's Thanos right there in the back of it.
Yeah.
It's like, fine, I'll do it myself. Wow. You know what I mean? And I thought
You're
about
just
that.
Thanosing it.
Yeah, fine, I'll do it myself. And that's it.
Yeah, it's what every 2-year-old child says. I'll do it myself.
Do it myself.
Sometimes you have to talk to 2-year-old Jean. Okay, that's fine.
This has been an amazing episode
Thank
of
you.
Reaching 21. Thank you both for being here. And
Absolutely.
get outside, shake hands, meet people. It's important. Later.
Later.
That's it.
Have a great day.
Yeah.
That's it.